your message to communist Zohran Mamdani?
Well, then we'll have to arrest him.
In order to sell Donald Trump's fascist message and agenda to America, he has now altered the fundamental makeup of the press corps, and he is followed around by MAGA journalists, MAGA personalities. Benny Johnson is who we're going to talk about today. Benny Johnson, a man you may remember from the controversy during the campaign that he was paid massive amounts of money, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars from Russia, along with Tim Pool and a bunch of other conservative fascist dipshits. But he is now following the president around, asking questions, teeing him up for questions about deporting citizens and people being communists or not, while taking money from Russia. Before I get to this question, here's a headline and 2 paragraphs from NPR. How Russian operatives covertly hired U.S. influencers to create viral videos. Benny Johnson said he had been pitched by a media startup and had negotiated a standard arm's length deal, which was later terminated. His most recent video on Tenet's Media's YouTube channel is from August 29th. And then here's the kind of money that we're talking about here. This is the kind of money that was poured into his pockets, into his bank account, so he could propagandize for Russia. And now he's saddled up to the president of the United States, being allowed access to ask questions, right? So look at this. One influencer of the group, and this is probably the same deal across the board here, since it's Russian money. One influencer was paid $400,000 a month and a $100,000 signing bonus and an additional performance bonus in exchange for 4 videos a week. 4 videos a week. I do between 4 and 7 videos per day on this channel. He was being paid $400,000 a month for 4 videos a week. Not even one a day. Not even one a day. So Benny Johnson, the Russian money Benny Johnson, asked Donald Trump about the deportation of American citizen and Democratic nominee to being mayor of New York City, Zohran Mamdani. And Donald Trump's answer is very scary.
Mr. President, your beloved New York City may well be led by a communist soon, Zohran Mamdani, who in his nomination speech said he will defy ICE and will not allow ICE to arrest criminal aliens in New York City. Your message to communist Zohran Mamdani?
Well, then we'll have to arrest him. Look, we don't need a communist in this country, but if we have one, I'm going to be watching over him very carefully on behalf of the nation. We send him money. We send him all the things that he needs to run a government. And by the way, they get about 3 times what you get, Ron. If you look at the per capita, Florida gets 1/3 of what New York gets in terms of the numbers. Why don't you give us those numbers?
Yeah, well,
because that's what we should send him.
Yeah, well, like sometimes people say Florida gets more because they count Social Security recipients, but that's not money to the state. Those are seniors that live here. If they moved to North Carolina, you could count it there. So it has no interaction with the state government. They get more in the city and state governments than we get.
Right, substantially. We're going to be watching that very carefully, and a lot of people are saying he's here illegally. We're going to look at everything, and ideally, he's going to turn out to be much less than a communist. But right now, he's a communist. That's not a socialist. I've always said we will not have socialism in this country. In the speeches, I said, well, what? They skipped socialism, and you got a lot of them like that. And you see AOC, she's out there with her, bad IQ. She's out there ranting and raving about how wonderful he is. And look, so far he's winning. He still has a race to win, but so far he's winning, and he has an advantage as a Democrat in New York City. I was there a long time ago, and it was a long time since a Republican won the city. But you would think that a Republican would be able to win. Or you have a good independent running, Mayor Adams, who's a very good person. I helped him out a little bit. He had a problem, and he was unfairly hurt over this question. He made a statement to the effect that this is terrible. New York City can't have all these immigrants come in. And like he was indicted the following day. And I said, that was a phony indictment. And it was a phony indictment. That was a Biden indictment. I said, don't feel bad. I got indicted 5 times. every time you opened your mouth. That was a bad group. That was a very dangerous group, I will tell you. These were not nice people. That was the only thing they could do. They had no policy. They had no skill. They had no anything. But they were very good at that. They were vicious, vicious, horrible people. Thank you very much.
We will have to arrest him. One, obviously, this wasn't a journalist. That's why I looked into this, because who's asking the question like this? Who's framing the question like this? Even Fox News wouldn't be as shameless and undignified and sickeningly propagandistic to ask a question in that manner, to frame it. Even Peter Doocy wouldn't stoop that low, right? And Donald Trump just, we will have to arrest him, says the President of the United States of America about the Democratic nominee, the man that voters in New York City, our most populous city, voted for overwhelmingly to lead them in the primary, obviously. Now he's talking about independent Eric Adams, his good friend, that he admits he helped out to get out of his problems. He's almost slipped up and didn't even add the part at the end about he was wrongfully blah, blah, blah. Yeah, bribery. He's a fraud. Anytime Donald Trump talks about a witch hunt, whether it's about himself or one of his corrupt crony pals, you know. Now, Donald Trump doubled down on this just this morning, 8:38 a.m. on True Social Eastern Time. He posted this: as President of the United States, I'm not going to let this communist lunatic, capitalized for some reason, destroy New York. Rest assured, I hold all the levers and have all the cards. I'll save New York City and make it hot and great again, just like I did with the good old USA. Now, there's a lot to talk about here. One is that Donald Trump in no way holds the levers. And I don't think it's by accident that he's talking about democracy here, about voting, that this person was just elected to be the Democratic nominee for the office of mayor. And Donald Trump's talking about he holds the levers. That's a metaphor that when you pull the lever in a voting booth, you vote for someone. Donald Trump is acting as though he possesses the power to decide who gets into their positions that are supposed to be democratically elected. That's a problem. Secondly, the hot and great, this was obviously just before the job numbers came down. The 95,000 new jobs that were expected into the economy, the hot and great U.S. economy, was actually 33,000 jobs lost. 33,000 lost, not 95,000 gained. It's a swing of like 120,000, right? Yeah, fantastic. So this is all bad. This is one, rewriting of what's happening and taking place in the country right now. This is also allowing these Russian-paid propagandists to follow Donald Trump around and frame questions so he can propagandize his fascism, his destruction of American liberty, his destruction, his lack of adherence, his violation of the Constitution of the United States. And it's also weaponizing his office to threaten arrest, deportation, which is not even a thing if you're a citizen, of an American citizen. If you disagree with Donald Trump, even if you're Elon Musk, there's going to be chatter about deporting you, because we all have to fall in line and do what the dear leader says and tell the emperor that he has great clothes on, even though he's naked. This is what they want. This is what they demand. Not just from people in power and people in influence and people who are well known, but from you. Anyway, what do you think? You can comment below. You can also call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. Of course, as always, you can email me daily at dollemore.com. I would love to hear from you. I would also love if you would consider helping support this work on this channel that I do on a daily basis. You can help me produce these videos. You can become a channel member for $2 a month. Click the join button. You go to my Patreon page, patreon.com/idoubt-it-podcast. But listen, obviously it would be better if it's me that you'd support. But if there's someone else out there And it's not me. If you just casually watch once in a while and, you can take or leave me, awesome. Find someone out there that you do appreciate, that brings you value, and support that person. $2 a month goes a long way when someone is able to marshal the size of their audience and use the collective influence of the numbers. Anyway, I'm sure someone out there would appreciate it. If it is me, fantastic. Also, you can follow me on social media. I'm at Dollemore. I'd love to see you there. I'll see you next time. Don't be a Benny Johnson. Be like the person that you admire or that brings you value. I hope that's not Benny Johnson. Anyway, I love and appreciate you very much. I'll see you next time. Be genuine. Take care of one another.